Omnipresent Divine Father, fellow pilgrims on the path. Bernice, thank you for those kind words. Bernice said, yeah, she knew the exact number of years, 37. I knew it was 3 decades plus. I always admired Bernice for her one-pointed love and devotion to Swami, in spite of the numerous problems she faced. Thank you, Bernice, for being a good example of a Sai devotee. I want to thank the officers of the region, Dr. Chandradas and Srinivas and others, for kindly inviting me to be part of this celebration. I always start my talk with the invocation, Omnipresent Divine Father. But today, when I said Omnipresent Divine Father, it had a totally different connotation, totally different meaning. It was not the same like when I used to say before, because that's all we have of Swami today, the omnipresence. The physical form is no longer with us. Also, November 20th, I can't remember when was the last time we were in the Los Angeles area. We were always with Swami in Prashantalayam at his divine lotus feet. But times have changed. So thank you for inviting me to be here. I want to start the discussion considering what do we mean by omnipresence of God. And what would Swami consider as omnipresence? See, many times what we think and what he thinks are totally different. See, our concept of omnipresence goes like this. God is in heaven, all is well with the world. And if we get into trouble due to our own desires, our actions, or due to circumstances, immediately the God in heaven should take note of it. We don't mind a delay of a few seconds or minutes, but he should take note of our problems and immediately come to our rescue. Stop everything that he's doing there, immediately come to our rescue. And do what it takes to solve our problem. Maybe part the Red Sea, lift a mountain, or produce an endless sequence of sorries, or prevent us from certain death. And when he does that, it would be nice if he shows his presence, not for long, a few minutes or a few seconds, that he's there to give us the evidence, and then he should go away, leaving us to our own conundrums of pleasures and life as we think of it. And by the way, we don't like a God who gets upset with us, who smites us or who punishes us. That's not the kind of God we're comfortable with. We would like the God to shower his love as much as he can, but only when we are free and when it's convenient for us. This is our concept of omnipresence of God. See, when I grew up as a child, my mother introduced me to religion and God. And we used to pray every Friday evening, and I used to go to temple. But my concept of God was, in fact, I had no concept of God to think of it, that it is the idol, it's the picture, and you worship him whenever you feel like you need his help. So this kind of omnipresence of God, Swami will not call omnipresence, he will call it on-demand presence of God. So we have been believing in this on-demand presence of God, not only by us, but all the religions have promoted this on-demand presence of God. That is not omnipresence. So what is omnipresence of God? See, I have been with Swami for over 4 decades, physically. And I have heard him interpret every teaching differently. When I thought that I have understood a certain teaching, Swami will give a totally different interpretation. I'll give you an example. Once Swami told me, the Upanishads don't teach the highest truth. Then I was in a state of shock. Swami, you only said in a discourse that the Veda is the highest, Upanishads is the essence, the Vedanta. Now you're telling me Upanishads don't teach the highest truth. Swami said, well, the interpretations of Upanishads is not the highest. I said, Swami, I don't understand. Swami said, what do the Upanishads teach? Tell me. I said, Matru Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava, Atiti Devo Bhava. Swami said, what does it mean? Of course, I was just repeating whatever Swami has taught me. What do I know? So I said, Swami, revere your mother as God, revere your father as God, revere your teacher as God, revere the guest as God. Swami said, that's not the highest interpretation. I was in a state of shock. If this is not the highest interpretation, what is the highest interpretation? Swami said, do you know Sai Upanishad? I had a blank stare on my face. And then he said, Sai Upanishad is this. Devo Matru Bhava, Devo Pitru Bhava, Devo Acharya Bhava, Devo Atiti Bhava, Devo Shatru Bhava, Devo Mitru Bhava, Devo Sarvam Bhava, Sarvam Devo Bhava. He says, don't think your mother as God. Your mother is God. God has come as your mother. God has come as your father. God has come as your teacher. God has come as the guest to give you an opportunity to serve. God is pretending to be your enemy. God is your dearest friend. God is everything. Everything is God. Think God, live God, love God, eat God, be God. This is Swami's concept of omnipresence. But where is God? I am reminded of a story. See, there was a wealthy merchant, and he took some money from the bank. So he was going to invest in the business. So cash transaction. So his servant came to know that the merchant has drawn money from the bank. So he told his friend, I am booking a first class coupe for my master. So I have also booked you a ticket. You go there, and he has kept the money in a brown briefcase, so you go and steal it in the night. So this businessman was traveling. So this friend came in as like a government officer. He was also sitting, so they were chatting. But this man's always is watching that brown suitcase. So they were talking for a while, and then he put it aside. They went to sleep. So in the middle of the night, when the merchant went to the bathroom, this thief opened the brown bag, and there was no money. Because previously he saw the merchant open the briefcase and there was cash. And there's nothing. So the merchant was sleeping happily. This thief was sleepless all night. So next morning when he got up, the merchant was drinking his tea. Then the thief confessed, Sir, I have to make a confession. I came to steal your money. The merchant said, I knew. But he said there was no money. He said, you know, when you went to the bathroom, I took all the money and put it in your pillowcase. Because I know there is one place you will not look is the pillowcase you are. So I had a happy sleep and you were restless all night. God has made man in his image and put himself in his heart because he knows that man will never look there. Man will look for God for everywhere, but not in his own heart. Omnipresence of God starts in our heart and ends there. We do not need to go anywhere. That's what Swami has been teaching us all along. In fact, Swami told us a story. This is a real story. This happened about 300 years ago. He said there was a boy. His name is Manzoor. His family practices the Sufi religion. The Sufi religion is like Advaita. They said, I am God. Anal Haq, I am God. So this boy, when he was 7 years old, he had a divine experience. So he started saying, Anal Haq, Anal Haq. So the villagers thought, this stupid boy, he's all the time saying, I am God, I am God. So let him be whoever he is, as long as he doesn't disturb us, we don't care. But unfortunately, the Badshah and the mullahs were traveling, and they were told that they're going to come to the mosque and pray. So the villagers got afraid. What if the Badshah comes, the mullahs come, and this boy stupidly saying, Anal Haq, I am God, when they're going to burn the whole village. What a sacrilege. So they took the boy, left him in the forest. Don't come back for 2 days, as long as the king and his retinue is there. So the Badshah and the mullahs went to the mosque, made elaborate preparations, and prayed. God is the greatest, our God is the greatest, there is no one higher. And then they knelt and then say, God, please manifest yourself here. Immediately the boy rushed into the mosque and said, I am here, Anal Haq, I am God. So the king got annoyed. You infidel, how dare you call yourself I am God? Who asked you to come here? He said, you asked me to come here. You were only praying for me. He said, come, manifest. I have manifested. Worship me. The Badshah got really upset. You stupid boy, stop talking like that. You should never say something like that. I am getting angry. I am going to get your hands and legs cut off. I am going to get you killed. Stop doing it. Run away. The boy said, no, why should I hide truth? I am God. I am God. I am the one you are seeking. You are blind. You are worshipping God everywhere, but I am here. Why don't you accept that? He said, I am not afraid of death. You can cut me to pieces, but I will never hide the truth. Of course, we know what happens when somebody says, I am God. What do? We drive him away from his hometown. We crucify him. We slander him. That is the world today. So God's omnipresence is not easy to understand. I want to share a story with you. This particular story is an old experience, and I want to share it with you for 2 reasons. This is where my journey of omnipresence with God started. And the second reason, this is Srinivas Mantraprakar's favorite story. He will always tell, why didn't you tell the story? So this time I want to tell without his asking. See, 1977 Swami sent us to the United States. So for 5 years, I could not go back to see Swami. So 1982, we went to see Swami. So Sunil and Uma, I told them that Swami is very close to me. We are like friends. So as soon as we go, he will greet us. He will talk to us. I said everything except that there will be red carpet for us. Of course, when we went there was only red sand. So we went there, and Swami did not notice us. First darshan. So they didn't say, what happened? You said you know Swami well. So I had my excuse. I said, see, today is the first day. I was in the fourth line or something. Also with jet lag, Swami didn't want to disturb us. Evening we went for darshan. Swami came and he went, ignored. Then they asked, what is your excuse now? I said, I was sitting with my face against the evening sun, so in the glare, Swami could not see me. Next morning, now I got the second row. Again, the same thing happened. I am running out of excuses. I told them, it's 5 years since I had seen Swami. I'm not the skinny fellow anymore. And in the evening, again, this time I got the first row. Swami came, talked to the person sitting on the right, person sitting on the left, person sitting behind, and he stood for a long time. No recognition. So it became obvious, either he does not know who I am, or he does not want to talk to me, or he's upset with me. The trip started like that. See, with Swami, you never know what he's going to. Even it was not that. Every time we go, the same thing. You don't know how Swami will react to you. That is the beauty about Swami. He keeps you always on your edge. He always was interested in transforming us. I'm sure how much he must have been disappointed. And I have had my plenty of share to disappoint him. I know you are all not like that. So, after several weeks, Swami came in Uma's dream And then he says, don't worry, I will see you before you go. Never forget I am God. So she was very happy. It was a Thursday morning. She got up and told us, see, Swami is going to talk to us. And Sunil said, come on, he foo-fooed the dream completely. It's all total nonsense, it's your imagination. So Swami called us that morning, and then he says, what did this boy say? That it's all imagination? Is it imagination? You're sitting here with me? I came in the dream, I told you I will talk to you. So the trip started like that. Then there were a few more days left, and then suddenly a desire arose in me that I wanted to practice Swami's teaching truly. Because I have been pretending to practice Swami's teaching, I still do. That's what gets chances to speak. So, I really wanted to practice Swami's teaching once. I know senior devotees have tremendous willpower to resist such temptations and you squash it as soon as it comes. But I was a novice at that time. I thought I could practice Swami's teaching. So I said, okay, first teaching, love everyone. I said, nah, I cannot do that. And so one by one went through the list of teachings that for 2 days I wanted to practice. And then Swami was telling, Manasyekam, Vachasyekam, Karmanyekam, Mahatmanam. Thought, word, and deed. Whoever can keep it the same is a human being. I said, I want to be a human being for 2 days. So I decided I'm going to follow. I was in the canteen. I was so happy I'm going to follow Swami's this teaching. I ate so much and violated Swami's mother teaching that eat moderately. So I said, I'm going to practice this teaching. Whatever I think I am going to say, whatever I say, I'm going to do. Hardly I've come out of the canteen, I've walked about 100 feet. One gentleman comes running to me. And he was the close attendant of Swami at that time. He was with Swami and he took care of everything. So Swami asked us to work on something. So he came running. Shankar, stop, I want to ask you something. Then suddenly he asked about something. He said, how did Swami know that? As soon as he asked me, how did Swami know that? The instant response me, are you kidding? Swami is God, he knows everything and you are with him every day and you don't know this? Of course, I cannot articulate that. Because when you go to the temple, you need the favor of the pujari, the priest, more than God himself. So you don't want to offend anybody and step on their toes. So I pretended not to hear him, but he wouldn't leave me alone. He said, tell me, how did Swami know this? I said, I don't know. But he wouldn't leave me. I said, somebody must have told Swami. Immediately, see, this is the thing about our guilt. See, it never allows us to be peaceful. You know, it never allows you to have a good time. So the guilt came from nowhere else. I said, because otherwise my mind is telling it's a big deal, it's a small thing. But my guilt says, no, just now you took a resolve, you're going to become a human being. Where are you now? You could not even keep the thought you had for 2 minutes, you could not keep it. So suddenly I got worried. Suddenly some awareness came into me. Somehow Swami is going to catch me next day. Next day we were leaving. So he's going to tell me, you failed. So I felt ashamed. So went home and then I came with, and then Sunil and Uma asked, why are you having a castor oil face? I thought I always had it, but anyway. So why are you sad? Swami is kind to us, tomorrow we are going to go. I said, well, this is what happened, and I'm worried that Swami is going to give us an interview. Because for the past several weeks we were praying for an interview, now I am worried he's going to give an interview. Then Sunil said, you must be really out of your mind and stupid. First of all, what is the guarantee that Swami is going to talk to us? Have you forgotten all those sand therapy? Number one. Number two, do you think Swami has nothing else to do than sitting there waiting that what this man is resolving and what he is violating? Is there nothing else for him to do? Does not have any other work? But I spent a sleepless night. because I really was scared he was going to call us for interview the next day. So I had to come up with plan A, plan B, plan C, how to avoid that. So we used to sit in the veranda, and I said, this time I'm not, so the place I sat, those days Swami used to be in the mandir, in the temple. So when he comes down, he will open that door with the silver knob, and everybody's attention will be on the knob when it moves. So as soon as he opens, I'll be sitting there. So this time I said, I have to do something different. So I went and sat behind a huge pillar, just next to it so that he won't see me. Because those days the habit is he will go and give darshan to ladies, then come back. And I thought if Swami doesn't see me, he will forget that we are leaving that day and I'm safe for this trip. And I'll deal with my practicing Swami's teachings next trip, if and when it happens. So Swami came and he looked and I was not there. Instead of going straight, he walked on the veranda and looked behind the pillar and I was there. So plan A failed. Then I thought Swami will go for darshan, and no, Swami was not in a mood to give darshan that day. He just pointed the finger, he said, go in. So inside we were there, and generally those days Swami had a particular mechanism for interview. In the front room, he'll collect people, he'll give them vibhuti, and give them some general advice, then one by one. So this time I said my plan B was to stay back, sit in the back so that Swami will not notice me. He will talk to everybody else, give them interview, and he will run out of time for us. That was my plan. So Swami came, turned on the fan, and gave vibhuti, and then he didn't sit in his chair. He's ready to go into dinner, interview me. He turned around, he said, California, where are you going? Now plan C. Plan C was, I was trying hard, don't even think about what happened yesterday, don't give him any clue. Just don't open your mouth, let Umansu talk to him, let him talk, just survive. So we sat there, and I was sitting in the middle, and then Swami looked straight at me, he asked, where is God? I said, God is everywhere, and Swami said, 0 marks. Then Swami asked, where is God? First he said, God is in the heart. Then he said, 0 mark. Then I said, God is everywhere. Then Swami said, how do you know? I said, I don't know, Swami. Then he said, why are you telling that? I said, that is my belief. He said, do you want an experience? God is everywhere. And I had a blank stare. This is what I was worried that was going to happen. Then he looked. Yesterday, when you're coming from the canteen, when that gentleman asked you, how does Swami know? What was in your mind? Why didn't you say that? He said, now onwards, if anybody asks any time about Swami, tell them your experience that Swami is God. Never hesitate. If you don't believe in it, don't even think about it. But if that is your experience, never weaken your belief. Always assert Swami is God, because you are God. And that's how my experience with omnipresence of God started. But now, it didn't sustain. See, Rudyard Kipling, a famous biographer, an author, he said, I have 6 best friends. I send them east and west. I send them over land and over sea. And when they have served my purpose, helping me, I give them rest. The names of these friends are what, when, where, how, why, who. Mark Twain once said, I can teach anybody to accomplish anything they want in life. I guarantee you that. But the problem is nobody can tell me what do they want. So we don't know what we want. We don't know who we are. And that is our problem. One tabla player asked his teacher, he said, "Sir, I'm going to play tabla for an accomplished musician. Can you please give me advice what I should do?" Then the teacher said, "Son, music is about harmony. Life is about harmony. Whatever you play tabla solo. Don't play tabla solo, because when you play tabla solo, it is so low." He said, life also, don't play solo. Don't try to act on your own, that I will accomplish this, I will do this. When you play soul, when you unite everything, and that is the beginning of omnipresence of God. So this omnipresence of God, why are we not able to understand? In everything we do, there is God who is guiding us and guarding us. See, there was a young man. There was a young man who wanted to know, who wanted to evolve himself. So he went to a teacher. This teacher was always meditating. So he waited for him. When the teacher opened his eyes, he said, "Please give me an advice." He said, "Trust in him." And then closed his eyes. So this young man didn't understand. What does trust in him means? So does he want me to chant Om Him or Om Cream like that? What does this him mean? He waited for another day and went and wait, and then the Guru opened his eyes. He says, trust in him means H, heart, I, intellect, M, mind. He says, trust in him means your heart, intellect, and mind should be in coordination. So he was very happy. So he came home and he was meditating, and his sister asked him, "What are you doing?" He said, "My teacher told me trust in him." She said, "You and your teacher are male chauvinists. Why did he say trust in him? Why didn't he say trust in her?" He got confused. She said, "Unless you trust in him and trust in her, you can never evolve." She explained, trust in him means heart, intellect, mind. Trust in her means harmony, energy, relaxation. When your mind is relaxed, when your intellect takes the energy from the heart, you will have harmony. So many times when you try to practice things, we don't have the trust. In fact, in 1985, we went to birthday. At that time, we went way ahead of time. And then this time I said, I'm going to focus and dedicate my time to follow again. 82, I learned my lesson about following Swami's teachings. Again, this temptation came back, what to do. So I found a huge book. The title is Swami. It's written by an author in Tamil Nadu. His name is R. Ganapati. This huge book. I was reading that. In that book it says, Swami said, Aham Brahmasmi, I am God, I am God. So I was chanting Om Sai Ram, Om Sri Sai Ram. So I said, this is not going to work. I'm going to switch it into Aham Brahmasmi. So I kept on chanting Aham Brahmasmi. Then I didn't develop taste for it. So I switched it to I am God, I am God. I kept on chanting I am God, I am God. And Swami kept going back and forth, noticing what I was doing. So he called us for an interview. Then he introduced me to two people from Tamil Nadu. He said, this man is R. Ganapati. He's from Tamil Nadu. He has written this huge book called Swami. And this man is the editor of the most popular magazine. So Swami said, okay, with Swami, you can never keep any secret. He will ask you how old you are, how much money you make in front of everybody. The age is not a problem for me, maybe for some of you, but salary I didn't want him to ask openly, because I remembered a joke. One boss told his employee, never reveal your salary to anybody. So the employee said, don't worry sir, I am equally ashamed of it as you are. But Swami asked me how much money they're paying you. So I went near Swami and mumbled something. Swami said, huh? What? He will do that. So I shouted it out. And I didn't know that here is the editor of the most popular magazine. He's writing everything down. In fact, what happened is, he wanted to publish an article about Swami before his 60th birthday. So my uncles, aunts, cousins all over Tamil Nadu knew exactly. Because Swami multiplied by a factor of 10 also. Then Swami asked me, what do you chant? I said, Swami, Om Sri Sai Ram. No, you changed it after you came. What are you chanting? I said, Aham Brahmasmi. No, you're doing something else last 2 days. What are you doing? I didn't want to say, I'm saying, I am God. So he said, huh? So I shouted, I am God. He said, do you feel you're God? I said, no. Then he says, no. Then he says, don't do it. Go back to Om Sai Ram. Do what is comfortable. Don't do these gymnastics in sadhana. Of course, all these things were written in the magazine and published all over. See, the thoughts are the impediments. Man is defined by his thoughts. Thoughts, we think thoughts are our friends, but thoughts do not belong to us natively. See, if you go in a freeway and somebody wants to hitchhiking, thoughts are like that. Thoughts want to enter into us. Only if we accept them, they can possess us. If we reject the thought, because omnipresence and thoughts have close correlation. When there are less thoughts, you will feel the presence of God within. In fact, Swami once was telling, what is omnipresence? Omnipresence. See, the first word is Om. See, omnipresence starts with Om, omnipresence. He said in Telugu, if you say omnipresensu, your essence is the presence of Om. Om is the vibration, it's the cosmic chatter. There's background noise. Because when the Big Bang happened, the entire sound, he said God is everywhere. That's why it's called omnipresence. Om is right there. And regarding thought, see, thoughts are how should we deal with thoughts? Thoughts is spelled as Though-T. First letter is T, last letter is T. Second letter is H, second but last letter is H. So thought should be from truth to truth, heart to heart. In between unrelated letters O-U-G are there. Thought should be original, unselfish, and godly. But then Swami says thoughts are passing clouds. How can it be original, unselfish, and godly? The example is like this. See, the earth is surrounded by atmosphere. See, there is troposphere, stratosphere, thermosphere, mesosphere, exosphere. These are 5 layers. But the immediate troposphere is 90% of Earth's atmosphere. And it becomes thinner. Like that, mind also, chittakasa, the mental space also, there are layers and layers and layers. Think of this, the way we live is, suppose you take a beehive, put on your head, like an unknown comic, and there's bees swarming all over. Our selfish thoughts are swarming all over us, and that's our personality. If we can go beyond that, it becomes subtler and subtler, because everything belongs to God. The elements belong to God. See, water belongs to God, land belongs to God, everything belongs to God, but we bottle, barter, and sell it. And then we sell air, we sell land, we draw a line on earth and call this country A, country B, United States, Cuba, Israel, Jordan, Pakistan, India, and then we create enmity artificially. Based on the 1/20th of the epidermal layer of the skin and the color of it, we call it black, brown, white, yellow. And then justify our actions. We differentiate based on lifestyles. We differentiate based on food habits, of status, of jobs. But unless we recognize the unity, we cannot enjoy omnipresence of God. So thoughts have to be from a lower truth to higher truth. Feelings have to be a baser feeling to a nobler feeling. Then only we will develop this love and adoration for the omnipresence of God. So coming back to the story of mantra, I thought that would be over, but it was not. So then I chanted back to Om Shri Sai Ram. Until 1990, Swami sent word that he's going to have summer course. So he said, come on over. Because he has not held summer course for 11 years. So Swami said there will be good speeches. Swami will give discourse every day, so come. So we went, and during that summer course, one day Swami gave a discourse. And Swami said, the highest japa is Hamsa Gayatri. So hums, so hum. When you say so, you breathe in God. Hum, you breathe in your selfishness. Breathe out your selfishness. So I was so impressed by that. I said, I don't want to chant Om Sri Sai Ram anymore. I'm going to do so hum, so hum. So I tried for 3 days and I didn't enjoy it. So I gave it up. So came back to California. After 3 months, somebody sent me a book of discourses of that summer course. I opened the book and the same discourse stares at me. I wanted to do it again. I practiced for 1 week. I gave it up. And that year I went for birthday. Then Swami said, come back again, December. Because we always wanted to go to December. Swami will never allow us to go to December. Because I said, Swami, there are 10 days we can spend with you. No, you have to come for birthday. So this time he said, come again for December. We went. And inside Swami called. He said, what are you chanting these days? How is your mantra japa going? I said, very good, Swami. He said, no, it's bumps and jumps and bumps, up and down. I said, Swami, yeah, I know, you came for summer course, you listened to my talk, and then Hamsa Gayatri, you switched. For 3 days you tried and you went back. Not only that, you went to California. After 3 months, you did the same thing for 1 week. Now you're back. Is it true or not? I said, Swami. He said, I know everything about your life. Sahasra Sisha, Sahasra Purusha. I have 1,000 eyes, 1,000 heads. I am with you all the time. But I don't tell you because I don't want to embarrass you. Because then you'll be afraid you won't come. That's why I'm not telling you, but I'll give you one example. He said, can I tell one example? He said, yes, Swami. He said, 3 weeks ago, when you are giving a lecture, teaching a class, right in the middle of it, didn't you develop a serious pain in your lower abdomen? And then during the talk, you just gave them a break and you stood in a side and then you recovered. Within 10 seconds, the pain disappeared, didn't it? I said, Swami. He said, yes, I was there. You do not know how many times I am there. You are not recognizing. God is with you all the time, but you are enveloped in your own thoughts. He says, don't worry about this mantra, that mantra. Remember that God is with you. That's enough. You have come, you have seen me, you have heard me, you have experienced joy with me. You do need no other sadhana. He said, let me tell you something else. He said, you human beings are struggling so hard. You're doing this sadhana, you're holding your nose like that, this and that, and you contort your body and then you cannot get out of the asanas. He says, you don't need to do anything. He said, let me tell you, self-realization is so simple. The effort needed is the amount of effort needed to just to press the rose petal. Just stop worrying. That's why Bernie said, be happy. Stop worrying. That's all it is needed. He said, Swami says, I am trying to understand how to worry. I don't know. Please teach me how to worry. See, Swami wants us to develop this intense, how am I doing time-wise? Should I? 0 minutes? Oh.
Have unlimited time, speak on.
You may regret that. So, where was I? Okay, so this omnipresent Swami says, never forget, God is always with you. I'm always with you. Never forget that. So that deep feeling you should develop. Swami said, develop a relationship with God, your higher self. See, in Kodaikanal, 1996, we went. One day, it rained so heavy that we got totally drenched. So we went back to the room, changed ourselves, and then we were late for the evening program. Swami had already come, and he was sitting in the dais, and I could not go and sit where normally sit. So I sat on an exit door, wherever I could get a little spot. And that day, Swami's discourse, the gist of it was that. He said, develop friendship with God. He said, when guests come, they're only allowed up to the living room, family room. And your relatives come, they will come into the kitchen, whether you allow them or not. But your friend, he has freedom to go anywhere. So God is your true friend. Make God part of you. Let him purify your whole being. So he said that. And this God is Patha friend. He's his old-time friend. God should be your old-time friend. So then after he finished the discourse, he came. Instead of his usual floral path, he looked around and I was sitting there. So he changed his course. In a beeline, he parted the crowd, came near me, and then I was doing like that. Swami said, no, raise your hand. I raised it. He said, no. Then he whispered, give me a high five. So he did like that. I gave him a big high five. Then Swami told the Director General of Police, he said, Patha friend, old-time friend. See, God, we should develop this relationship of friendship with God. See, many times, I want to tell you something. You're looking for partnership, it's hardship. Look for friendship. Many of us live our life like business. We create acquaintances, we discard them. It's always, what is in it for me? Swami said, that's not right. Develop true friendship. That's the greatest gift. Do not live life like a businessman. What is in it for me? What can they do for me? It's exchange back and forth. Develop true friendship. Help everyone. And above all, develop friendship with God. See, Krishna had a great friend. His name was Sudama. See, Sudama was a very poor Brahmin. Krishna was prince, his king. And they went both to Sandipani school. They went there. And Krishna was very fond of the parched rice that his mother will prepare for Sudama. And then he will eat it with relish. And Sudama was always ashamed of himself. But they were close friends. They had so many dreams how Vedic revival should happen. And then after the school was over, they parted. And Krishna became the emperor, and Sudama continued to be where he was, the poor Brahmin. And he got married, and he had many children, way too many children, and he couldn't take care of his family. His wife told him, Sudama, you said Krishna is this, Krishna. You always says, my Krishna, my Krishna, my Krishna. She said, you keep telling Krishna is my friend. Krishna did this, Krishna did that. Why don't you go and ask Krishna? Please help me. I'm not able to take care of my family. Sudama didn't want to ask him, but finally she pushed him. So he took this parched rice and carried with him in a dirty towel. So Sudama goes to Dwarka, goes to the entrance. And then as soon as Krishna hears that Sudama has come, he ran barefoot to receive his friend. He took him by his hand and made him sit in the golden jula, the golden chair. And then told Rukmani, come, Sudama has come, bring him all the food. So while Sudama was eating the royal food, he reached for this little parched rice. Sudama was trying to hide because all this healthy food. And then Krishna took it, and Rukmani wanted part of the blessing. Then Sudama forgot to ask him about his family. He was ashamed. He didn't want to ask. And then Rukmani said, your friend has come. Don't you want to give him anything? Krishna said, no, he's a Brahmajnani. He doesn't want anything. Don't give him. I don't want to insult him by giving him anything. So Sudama on his way back, he was worried, how am I going to face my wife? I met with Krishna. I had Such a wonderful time, I didn't even ask him. So when he came home, he couldn't recognize his hut. It has become a palace. And he couldn't recognize the people, the children, they came out. They were his own wife and children dressed. So while Krishna was teasing him, he has changed it. See, the relationship with Swami over 4 decades, he was a friend, philosopher, guide, and God. He truly never expected anything from me. I never asked him anything in my life. The fact that he was there was enough. And then whenever we went, he was happy we were there. There was nothing else needed. See, the presence of God was more important than any other interactions goes between you and God. He took care of everything. In fact, I remember in Dharmakshetra, when I was doing work, taking care of lavatories, this God came barefoot on gravel and thorn, came towards me, and and it was 100 feet away. He didn't mind the lavatory. He came, and I never used to look at him those days. I used to keep my head down. So he bent down and then made me raise my head, and we smiled at each other. No words were exchanged. Friendship, true friendship, is a great gift. Friendship with God is the greatest gift. There's a Tamil poet, his name is Manikavachakra, which means words of emerald. In that, he says, I will tell the Tamil poem, some of you may understand. பால் நினைந்தூட்டும் தாயினும் சால பரிந்தினி பாவியனுடைய ஊனினை உருக்கி உள்ளொளி பெருக்கி உலப்பிலா ஆனந்தமாய தேனினை சொரிந்த பரம்பரம் புரிந்த செல்வமே சிவபெருமானே யானினை தொடர்ந்து சிக்கர பிடித்தேன் யாங்கெழுந்தருளுவது இனியே. Of course, it was total Greek for most of you. What that means is, the mother remembers that my child is hungry during the night. She will wake up and feed the child before the child cries. God, your mother is like that of 1,000 mothers. You took care of me. You accepted me in your fold, and you showered your grace, but it was not easy. You literally melted my bones. You destroyed my ego. Instead, you planted this divine bliss and gave me the nectarine sweetness of your name. And now you're playing hide and seek with me, you're gone. Do you think I'm going to be fooled? I've caught you in my heart, held in my heart. Where can you go? Adi Shankaracharya, when he went to Kashi and prayed to the God there, he said, Lord, I want to confess. I am the biggest hypocrite on earth. This was Adi Shankaracharya. It could be true for me too, but I'm quoting Adi Shankaracharya. He said, I told everywhere that God is omnipresent, but I traveled around India 4 times. Badrinath, Kedarnath, Puri Jagannath, Kanchi, Sringeri, and now Kashi, to worship you. And I said, God is formless, but I worship the idols and the Shivalingam, while I could not recognize the God in the untouchable who went by me. I said, God is beyond words, and I'm guilty of composing hundreds of poems and hundreds of scholarly works. God, one thing I don't understand is your omnipresence. Please teach me what your omnipresence is. See, Swami, I used to think, people were telling about these doomsday, Armageddon, the calamities that were going to happen. Or the Mayan calendar, or the biblical predictions, or the predictions of the Siddhas, or the solar heating, or the ozone layer breakup. Name your favorite tragedy. They were scaring everybody. Or earthquakes, tsunamis. I never for once was afraid. I think the only calamity that could hit, I thought to myself, to Swami to leave his physical form and to live without him. But we know it has happened. I thought, how will I ever survive without my friend, philosopher, guide, and God be with me? And Swami has been warning us since 75th birthday. His birthday, he called us. He said, you know something? You cannot be depending on Swami's physical form all the time. I'm not going to be here all the time. You have to go within. And I said, no, Swami, don't talk like that. We don't know how to live without you. Then he kept quiet for 5 years, and 80th birthday, he brought the topic again. You have to go within. You have to go beyond. You cannot keep expecting these things. You cannot be like children. You have to grow up. He said, Swami, we don't want to hear that. And 85th birthday, we went, and it was hard to see Swami not in his pristine health. And then I was about to leave. And every time when we go to Swami, I'll say, Swami, when can I leave? And then Swami will never give permission. See, Swami will tell me when you are coming, then I will tell you when you can leave. So I asked him, Swami, when can we leave? He said, come back soon, come back soon. We didn't understand. We didn't understand that this was going to be the last grand birthday celebration that we are going to witness. On February 8th, Uma had a dream. And then Swami asked her, when are you coming? She said, Swami, in June or July. Swami said, no, come now. Then in March, I got a dream. Swami said, why are you not here yet? When are you coming? Swami said, come by March 19th. I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you about myself. Of course, we couldn't make it on March 19th. I didn't understand. Later on, I found out on March 20th, the famous photograph Swami, Namaskar. I think I understand that as all the gods in heavens have come down to take him. So he gave his respect to them. He was torn between going there in the other planes and helping us, because his children, whom he loved so much, have not really learned anything yet. And his compassion, he wanted to spend more time, but he was needed there. So finally, when we went, Swami was not happy. It was already late. He saw me from the distance and came near. And Swami was the master in communicating. See, Swami does not even have to speak. With his eyebrow, with his expression, with his body language, and then through talk, he can communicate. So from a distance, he raised his eyebrow. When did you come? And with his eye muscle says, come. So I went near him. I said, Swami, only yesterday we came. He could not talk. He has lost all his strength. Then he looked around and he said, where is Sunil? Of course, instead of giving the usual excuse that he could not take leave, I wanted to sound more positive. I said, Swami, we will bring him back soon. Swami said, yes, soon. We didn't realize we brought Sunil back soon, 4 weeks later, to see his body lying in state. But millions marched past. And then 2 days later, the final darshan of Swami he gave. And from the car, he subtly said goodbye. It's so subtle. And I didn't understand, why is he telling me goodbye? I was not smart enough to understand. Meanwhile, we got word that my mother is seriously ill. My mother was my first guru. She showed me God, and Swami took over everything. And she was seriously ill, whilst here Swami was admitted to the hospital, and every day we are getting conflicting news. And somebody says he's getting better, somebody says he's not. And so we decided we have to do something. So there is a temple town called Le Pakshi, the bird. It's 30 kilometers from Prashantanalayam. There is a rock temple there. And this is a temple, it's built in a place where the legendary Jatayu bird, which fought with Ravan to protect Sita, had died. That's the belief. In that, this temple is dedicated to a god called Veerabhadra. This is the heavenly soldier that Shiva created with a single strand of his hair. Of course, when you read mythology story, we think it's all nonsense. But today, genetic technology exists. They can create life form with a single strand of DNA. But that we will accept. So this Veerabhadra was created to destroy Daksha, who insulted Shiva or didn't have the sense of renunciation. So we went there, and in that temple, there was a mother's form carved, not inside the sanctum, but on the pillar. It seems the sculptor had a vision of the mother there, so he carved her right there. So when we went and worshipped that mother, She looked real to me. I thought her eyes moved. So I prayed to her. I said, Mother, I am praying to you. I'm not going to pray for my earthly mother because Swami will take care. But I'm going to pray to you for Swami because he is not taking care of himself. Please make him make his health better. Let him live longer and guide us for longer. Please, Mother, please help. The moment that prayer was over, the garland literally fell and slithered like a snake onto her lotus feet. I looked at my watch, it was 11:40. The priest said, this is a special blessing from a mother. Whatever you're praying is happening, take this garland. So Uma and I came to the room and somebody was waiting in front of the round building. He said, are you Dr. Shankar? I said, yes. She said, I work in the educational institution. I just got a call from your brother. Your mother has passed away. Later on, I found out she breathed her last at 11:40 a.m. on that Friday. So we went, attended. He said, according to our custom, it has to be cremated right now. So I left Uma and her mother there, I went. But then Uma decided she wanted to come, so she arranged on her own. And in the morning, 3 o'clock, she's coming by a taxi. The taxi is just passing Super Specialty Hospital, 300 feet from where Swami is lying, supposedly suffering from multiple organ failures, unconscious. Suddenly she heard the noise in her purse. In the faint street light of Puttaparthi, that street, she opened it and there was a brand new vibhuti packet. This was to be applied to the body of my mother, who was an ardent devotee of the Sathya Sai form. So we attended, then came back, stayed for some more days, and they said, assured that Swami is going to get better. And then we said, we have to bring Sunil back. Swami wanted him back. We cannot wait any longer. We came. As soon as we landed, we got the news that Swami is getting worse. We turned around, just in time to attend the last 2 days of Mahasamadhi celebrations. So we were so distraught in our heart. How can we live without Swami? We came back. On Ishwarama Day, I got a message from inside from Swami. I want to share with you. This is in Telugu, and I'm not good in Telugu. I'm going to share that message, and you'll understand. This is what the message I received. Prema Swarupalara, embodiments of divine love. Nenu Bhagavantude, I am God. Nee kuda Bhagavantude, you are also God. Naaku nenu Bhagavantunu telusu, I know I am God. Neeku teliledu, you do not know. Naaku neeku ade vidyasam. That's the only difference between us. Ee jeevithamalo, ma jeevithamalo oka kshanam kuda deha bhavam raledu. In my life, not even for a fraction of a second, I developed thoughts of my body. Ma bhaktal kosarame daivatvam tarinchi avataram teeskuntunnanu. For the sake of my devotees, I took this divine form. Ma bhaktulki emi kavalante cheya tayaruga unnanu. For the sake of my devotees, I am ready to do anything for them. Ma food, blood, inkemi ma jeevitame tyagam cheya tayaruga unnanu, tyagam chesanu. My food, my blood, why not? Even my life I will sacrifice for my devotees, and I did sacrifice for my devotees. I have not gone anywhere. I am here. Me gentle, gantle, entle. Meer hridaya lopala hridaya saiga ananda saiga unnanu. Around you, besides you, inside you, as the inner resident of your heart, as the bliss form, I am there. Me pani me cheyandi, na pani nenu chestanu. You do your duty, I will do my duty. Me pani emi, what is your duty? Samskar paropakar. Lead a good and moral life, help ever, hurt never. Ma duty, ma pani emi, what is my duty? Chamatkar sakshatkar. I shall fill your life with miracles and grant you liberation itself. Ma anugraha, ma prema, meerandruku eppudu undundi. My grace and my love is always further. As soon as this message came, the suffering was gone. The separation was gone because we felt that Swami is right there as his omnipresent self, helping us. There is no more need to grieve. We have to be happy for the chance given to us to to be with God himself. Then I was reading in the newspapers about May 19th, the end of the world. On May 12th, Swami came in my dream. He said, what is all these people are talking about calamities here and there? He said, nothing is going to happen. I am here. When I am here, what can happen? So I truly believe that Swami has taken upon himself all the calamities. The worst calamity we have is our own ego. There is nothing greater than that calamity. We don't have to worry about anything else. Science itself is talking of God's omnipresence. We have to go within. See, in fact, if 100 years ago, if somebody said you can talk to somebody, you can see somebody 10,000 miles away, they will think you are a god yourself. Technology is doing it today. And in our own body, our own replica is available in every DNA, billions of cells. Why shouldn't God, the Creator, multiply His presence in every being? Why do we find it hard to believe? In fact, I was having a conversation with an MIT professor about the human brain and how to tame complexity or in building complex engineering systems. He said the human brain has 100 billion neurons. Each neuron has 10,000 connections. So together it's 1 million billion connections. That's how complicated the brain is. I mean, we are really so complicated even though we look like there is nothing there. There's so much there. So he said, the interesting thing is, 95% of the activity is carried on these feedback loops, only 5% sensory data goes in. So between your wakeful state and dream state, the only difference is 5%. And he paused. I wonder, isn't creation our imagination? Yad bhavam tad bhavati. The mind projects the creation. So we have, science itself is telling the truth about omnipresence of God. We really know nothing. We know nothing. In fact, in order to develop the omnipresence of God, Hanuman is a very good example. Swami always talks about Hanuman. I'll take another 5 minutes. Is it okay? Chandradas? Okay. Hanuman is a great devotee. See, he's a kapi, monkey, but he was kavi. He knew the past, present, and future. He was wise beyond imagination. If you look at the word Hanuman, if you take the second and third letter A-N, what is it? H-U-M-A-N, human. If you take human and remove the first two, H-U, what is left is man. Man who develops humility is human. And add A-N, adoration for name of God, he becomes Hanuman. The only who is humble and develop adoration for name of God deserves to be called Hanuman. So when Hanuman went to Lanka and he was caught, and then Ravana was brought, then he looked at this monkey. He said, for the sake of this monkey you called me to deal with, you could not deal with him. In fact, I remember I was attending a conference, the keynote speaker at the end, he was talking about religion and spirituality. He was telling between the chimpanzee and the human, the DNA, 97% is common. So he addressed me straight. Sir, if I tell you you are 97% chimpanzee, would you get offended? I said, I will be flattered, but I'm not sure the chimpanzee won't get offended. So Hanuman, how did Hanuman develop this closeness to Rama? Because once this bridge was being built, these monkeys were taking the stones and putting them down, and they were all floating. So Rama was very impressed. He said, I also want to help. So he took a stone, put it into the ocean, it plump went down. So Rama asked Hanuman, what is going on? When I do, it doesn't work. When this monkeys put the stones, they float. He said, Hanuman knew how to talk to God. He said, Lord, there is a secret. It is your name, Rama. See, they took the second letter of Narayana, Ra, Namah Shivaya Ma, combined it, Rama became the Bijaksha mantra. So this mantra has so much attraction power. So they put the Ra on one rock, Ma on the other rock. It gets attracted like a magnet and floats. But then Rama said, when I drop, what happens? He said, everything wants to come to you, Lord, but when you drop, where can it go? It has to go to the bottom. So Hanuman, Rama was so happy, embraced Hanuman. Hanuman, how do you know so many things about me? Even I don't know. Hanuman said, Lord, when I think I am the body, I am your servant. When I think I am the mind, I am your son. When I think I am the Atma, I am one with you. So when I am one with you, I understand a few things about you. Please don't mistake me for saying these things. So then Ravana asked Hanuman, who are you? Hanuman did not say, I am Hanumantra, Dr. Hanumantra, PhD in mantra technology, masters in muscular dynamics, I have patents in hypersonic flying. He didn't, or I am from the Vali Institute of Higher Learning. He didn't say that. He said, Dasoham Kausalendram. I am the servant of Rama, the king of Kosala. So I was thinking, who am I without Swami? I am nothing. Because Swami said, I have chosen you all as my messengers. I have given my love. I have given my wisdom into you. I have worked over incarnations. I've worked with you incarnation after incarnation, perfecting you. You are my messenger of love. The moment you allow your ego to sink into you, my mission will cease. The moment you become humble again, develop love in your heart, you will be my messenger of love. I am telling this from the top mountain of the Lord, that good days are ahead. There may be some surprises, but never, never give up your hope. I will take you the highest heaven. I will give you liberation itself. Together we will make the place a better place. So I was thinking, if someone were to ask me, who am I? Dasoham Saiswaram, Dasoham Saiswaram, Dasoham Saiswaram. I am the servant of Sai. I am the servant of Sai. I am the servant of Sai.